where seeing a lot more people to now I just don't have the time, because there's so with the online portion where I have this much larger community of people utilizing my programs and the Facebook group, the private Facebook group that goes along with that. My outlook on nutrition and how it's so different from what so many other people are doing right now. And I think it's a breath of fresh air for a lot of people. And the fact that I've been so consistent on sharing that message regardless of if people don't like it.
Hello, Autumn. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, super excited to dive into your YouTube channel, which is relatively new, just a little over 2 years. Your incredible success so far, and really how you've leveraged that into an online business. So why don't we get started with you sharing with our listeners and our viewers why you got onto YouTube when you did?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story because I came from a blogging background. I previously worked for a company and I was writing their content for their blog. So that was like my main focus. And I didn't really have that attitude around YouTube. I didn't even know YouTube like existed. I thought it was just for like funny cat videos type of thing.
Yeah.
And it was my mom actually who was like, you are really good at explaining things like in person. I think that's probably what you're going to do better at. Like you should create YouTube videos. And I pushed that off probably for like at least 4 or 5 months after she said that. And she kept nagging me and I was like, all right, okay, fine, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then from there, I created my first very awkward video, as everyone's video is. And then I realized that, this is actually something that's actually a really great way for me to reach people and connect with like-minded people. I should actually pursue this.
Yeah. So at the time, I know you are a nutritionist, correct?
Yes.
Or what's your background specifically?
Yeah, I'm a certified clinical nutritionist. I have my master's in nutrition human performance, my bachelor's in nutrition dietetics. So it's like 8+ years worth of nutrition studying.
So when you were blogging, you were creating content for somebody else's blog.
Right.
And I'm assuming it's around this topic of nutrition?
Yeah, it was like nutrition fitness. It wasn't as much of it was more fitness focused than nutrition. Since my background I'm also a certified personal trainer. So I was covering a lot of those topics. But yeah, the content was mostly around fitness with like sprinklings of nutrition.
Got it. And so when you started your YouTube channel, what was your plan for that at that moment?
There was zero plan. My plan was to have my videos be put into my blog. That was the only plan I had. And if there was a way for me to put video, which I'm sure there probably was, but I'm not tech savvy. If there was a way to put videos directly into my blog at the time without needing YouTube, I probably would have never even created a YouTube channel, which I'm so glad I did because YouTube has fully changed my life.
Yeah. And so you created your YouTube channel 2 years ago. What else were you doing at the time?
I was mostly seeing one-on-one clients. Okay. That was my main, form of just, what I was doing for work. And I liked creating the content online. I liked the idea of being able to create something that more people could use so that you could change more people's lives and help even more people than I possibly could ever one-on-one. So at the time I was mostly only doing one-on-one. I had a program as well that I was selling to help people utilize intermittent fasting properly. And that was mostly through my Instagram because I had like a smaller following on Instagram. So I was able to use that to reach more people, but I didn't really have any other means at that time.
Yeah. So when you say smaller, around what size was your Instagram?
I think at the time it was like 16,000. So not huge, but it was still enough where I could start reaching people.
Yeah. And was that how you were getting your one-on-one clients as well?
Yeah, that, and I was also doing like the old school methods of marketing, like doing workshops in person and meeting with the local community. Like at that time, my clients were pretty much whoever was in the vicinity, the 5-mile vicinity of where I lived. Yeah.
Yeah, got it. So you uploaded your first video. When was it exactly?
I believe it was June 8th, 2018.
Okay. And then at what point then did your channel actually start to take off?
So it was probably almost exactly a year later when I really started to see results. It took me from that June 8th point until January at some point, somewhere in that range, like 7-ish months to get my first 1,000 subscribers.
Oh, okay.
And then it took me after that, like that second year of my channel is when it really started to take off, where 2 of my videos just started to go viral. And from that next year, I think I gained an extra like 100,000 subscribers.
Wow. So how consistent were you with your channel in that first year when, it took you, what'd you say, how many months to get to 1,000 subscribers? Like how consistent were you?
In the beginning, not as consistent. I really started to take it seriously probably around October of that year. So like a couple months down the line, I think I maybe posted a couple of videos here and there, but nothing like too consistent. And then I don't know what sort of flipped that switch for me, where I realized like, oh, this is actually a really great platform for me to reach like-minded people. But it was around October when I was like, okay, I'm just going to actually start creating consistent content and see where this goes. And it just became, I never viewed it as like a timeline, like I'm going to give myself this amount of time. It was more so like, okay, this is part of my routine now. This is just what I'm implementing. So at that point, I think just straight away I started doing 2 times per week. So I was like, this is the max I can possibly do. I don't think I could do more than that.
Yeah. And so then you said a couple of your videos went viral. So let's go back to that and kind of share that experience.
Yeah, that was really crazy because the 2 videos that went viral literally back to back within the same time frame of a couple days even, they both had come out about 3 or 4 months before they started to go viral. So it wasn't right off the bat. In fact, I had thought that those videos were like failures, that they just didn't really do well, because they only reached like 800 people, like 800 views or something like that. And then the views just started to peter off. And I thought that was just like a dud. Like, okay, like better luck next time, try something else. But then it was around, I think, June, late June, when the first video started to take off. And that's my 10 intermittent fasting mistakes video, which I think and then the second one right after that was the walking versus running video. And that combined, brought in just that July after, I think like 35,000 subscribers in that month alone. So it went from like 0, like nothing going for a full year, like really scraping by to get even 1,000 subscribers, and then reaching a lot more people.
That's so crazy, because I hear this a lot, how people say, the video actually went viral, but it didn't happen right away. And for you, you said you had 2 videos go viral, and both of them, it happened, what you said, like 3 months later, or how many months later?
Yeah, I think both came out in like March or maybe earlier that year. And then it was like late June / mostly July when they really both just started to really increase. And I think one day,
No, you finish,
I think one day alone, it was like 2,700 subscribers that those videos combined brought in.
And did they both start taking off at the same time? Or did one happen first and then the other happen later?
It was crazy. It was literally the same time. I don't know how that happened, but it was literally within days of each other that if I look at my analytics, you just see both of them start to really take off.
That is just so crazy. So why do you think those 2 videos took off the way that they did?
I definitely know the walking versus running one. So the title is Walking is Better Than Running for Weight Loss. Here's why. So that is something that I'm really passionate about, how less exercise actually is more beneficial for weight loss, and doing exercise properly and not just killing yourself with exercise is really the key to longevity and not gaining weight in the end. And that's a very contradictory statement that most people wouldn't think or believe. And I think because it was such a statement that most people are not familiar with, that it just really started to take off. And it was also something people wanted to hear. Like most people, a lot of people do like running, but a lot of people don't.
I love walking, but I don't like running.
Yeah, exactly. Most people are the same way. And especially because so many people have injuries where they can't even do something like running. And it's disheartening to hear that, oh, you have to run in order to lose weight, to hear the alternative and to learn the details of that and the science behind it, I think was something that a lot of people really enjoyed and then just started to share. And then the 10 intermittent fasting mistakes one, that one, I'm actually not totally certain why. I can really pinpoint the walking one, why that one started to take off. But the 10 intermittent fasting mistakes one, I think is really just because it was good information. Like that's the only thing I can really narrow it down to, because it's not necessarily the most, searchable thing. People aren't looking up intermittent fasting mistakes the way that they might be like intermittent fasting meal plan or intermittent fasting for beginners. But the information in it was also maybe a little contradictory to what some people would have heard previously from, other experts. So that might be why people started to share it. But yeah, that one, I really think it just came down to good information, which from what I've seen with how, growing on YouTube and how people can grow on YouTube, it really comes down to like those two things, at least from my more novice, being really bold about what it is that you believe in, and then also just providing the most amazing information that'll actually help people.
Yeah. So did you do any tweaks to your video, either one of those videos after you upload them? Did you change the thumbnail? Did you change the title? I know sometimes people go in there and tweak them.
No, I did nothing. I just kept them the same because I was like, oh, well, it must be working.
Yeah. Yeah. God, that's awesome. Okay, so then you've got these 2 videos. They go viral. You spent practically a year getting 1,000 subscribers, and then you said you got, what, 35 in 1 month?
Yeah.
35,000 in 1 month?
July 2019, yeah.
Okay, so then what's next? Then what happened?
Well, it was also at that point where I realized that this is really viable. Like up until that point, it was, anyone who's new to intermittent fasting, oh my gosh, like I'm getting ready to film a video.
Yeah.
Anyone who's new to YouTube knows the struggle when you're just learning so many things. Like you have to learn basically psychology, like what it is that people, why people click on something, with the thumbnail, the title, like what colors are more attractive, like how to keep your brand consistent, how to edit, like all of these things are such an uphill battle in the beginning. And once you get that down and you actually see the systems of what type of information that you're sharing that really people respond to, and how you're sharing it and how people respond to that in a way that's going to make it so you can continue to grow, that's where you could start to fine tune. And for me, that's where a lot of the fine tuning started to happen, where I was like, okay, clearly people like to hear this information. This is the type of information they want to hear. So I'm just going to provide more of it. And then from there, it was just, studying. I did so much studying of what it is that people like to see and how they like to hear it, and and just perfecting your art within YouTube as well. There's just so much you could go into that I still am learning every day.
Yeah. So when you say studying, then what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So there's a couple of YouTube channels that I would watch religiously that really helped me. But then I also just would study to see what made me click a video. And I would always think about that. Like I never really watched YouTube before this. So it was a really good experience for me to learn, like, okay, I'm going to start immersing myself in the YouTube platform and actually start using it so that I can understand why it is that people would also click on my videos. Like what is it that would make someone want to click my video over someone else's so that I could share my information with them. And I think that's been almost the most valuable experience, actually analyzing your own self and what it is like about a title that makes you more intrigued with one versus one that's right next to it. Or same thing with a thumbnail. Like, does it seem too cheesy, that one thumbnail, and so that's why you didn't click on it? Like, there's just so many psychological aspects to YouTube that, there's not like actual studies that can go into this. So you kind of have to study yourself.
Yeah, I totally believe that. That's so true. So then you said there was, at that point, things went viral, your channel grew, you were seeing actually this momentum, and you said it's a viable thing now. So then how did you did you change the way you approached your YouTube channel? Did you take it more seriously? Did you, how did you then change at that point?
Yeah, I would say that I had the seriousness level was pretty consistent. Like for me, as soon as I decided that I was going to do it, I was all in, and I was just studying and learning and immersing myself the entire time. So the level of commitment was always there. But now that I had the something that worked, now I could figure out why it worked and sort of dissect it and then apply that to future videos. So I would say more than anything, I just continue to perfect what I felt like was working and remove what wasn't working. So there were a bunch of things I was trying in the beginning to see how I could reach people. Like especially in the nutrition space, it's so, there's so many channels. There's a lot of people giving a lot of information, and so there's a lot of examples of what it is that people are clicking on. I tried a bunch of different videos that you could see on my channel that just didn't do very well, and it wasn't really my type of it didn't help me to be able to express myself in the way that I was meant to express myself. Like I'm meant to express myself in a very scientific manner, explain things to people in a very simple way so that they can understand it too, take these complex systems and make them easy to understand. I wasn't meant to do diet reviews. Like that's something that I had to learn along the way. And, what's going to work for me isn't going to work for someone else, because the way that what I have to offer is different from another nutritionist. So that was a big thing I had to learn, was not just because it's working for someone else doesn't mean it's going to work for me, and vice versa.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's what makes YouTube so cool, is that everybody just has their own unique talents and abilities. And I think the key is figuring out what that is and then doubling down on that versus trying to do something that you're just not maybe most suited for. Yeah. So then what were some of the things that you said you experiment with a bunch of things. What were some of the things that you just you mentioned, doing reviews or diet reviews, but are there other specific things that you tried that just didn't work?
Yeah. The big thing was probably diet reviews. And then there's not really. Luckily for me, I was trying to be really strategic with how I was trying things, not just trying one thing, moving on to the next. I would try and almost block test things out. So do like 5 videos and see how those go that are along the same lines, and then do another 5 videos and see how that goes. So I was lucky in the sense that I didn't have to do a ton of experimentation. But yeah, it was, for me personally, it was just the diet reviews component, because I think, again, what was really lucky for me is that I already knew, like, my passion is nutrition. My passion is to share that with people. And so there's only so many different ways you can do that.
Yeah, that's true.
And so it's not like I was looking into, I'm going to be a vlogger, or, I'm going to, I don't know, be a gamer.
Yeah.
Like there's so many different things that people are trying because they just want to be a YouTuber, and not because they have a passion that they want to share and that they want to make sure that other people know about.
Yeah. For you, it was already decided. You knew you were going to talk about nutrition. You knew you had a certain message, and it was just like, okay, exactly. How can you get more eyes and ears on your content? So what are some of the things that you have found have worked since doing all that experimentation?
Well, probably the biggest thing I've learned is that you really can't be vanilla with your content. You have to, it's so easy to be scared of what people will say, especially if you have a controversial view on things. Like I get so much negative feedback. Like there have been a storm of all of these personal trainers who did a bunch of videos, like react videos to me. And that's not fun. Like that's never fun. But it's also going to make it so that people know where you stand and what you're about. And that way you're going to get the most loyal subscribers, because, they believe the same thing. So if you're just being vanilla and you're trying to avoid controversy, especially if it's around something that you really believe in, like you're never going to grow. You're not going to reach people, because you're not going to incite that passion or the emotion in someone.
Yeah, having an opinion is a big deal on YouTube. Yeah, like you said, it's but you do have the backlash. So then, how did you deal with some of that? What happened? How did you deal with some of that negativity?
The only thing, I was really lucky. I have a great support system because the first time it happens, it comes out of left field. You don't expect it. And, things are going so great. You first just have your core group of people who really, again, believe everything that you believe, because you're reaching a smaller audience. But then as soon as you start reaching more people, you're going to reach people who don't have that same view as you, and are equally as opinionated about that. And so getting that backlash the first time, can be extremely scary, and you have to, I mean, if you're going to be on YouTube, you have to know that that's going to happen. It's going to happen to everyone who becomes successful will end up getting some type of backlash. And the way that I dealt with it was, first of all, not responding, like not giving into it, because that's just going to fuel the fire, and it's just going to make it so that more people are going to get on that bandwagon because they see that you responded. So now they see that they're going to get views because they just have to create a reaction video. Like it's just whole spiral from there. And it does nothing for your mental health to respond to those types of situations, because those people aren't looking to hear your message. They're looking to agitate and to just bring you down and tear you down. And so you can't, I mean, I'm a big believer in don't feed the trolls. But I know some other people have different opinions, and if you have the skin for it and you do want to interact and create more controversy, I guess that's one route. But I think that for most people's mental health, just good rule of thumb, don't feed the trolls is probably the best thing that you could ever do.
Yeah, so you're saying it's not just about negative comments on your own platform, it's other people making videos on their channels about you.
Right, which will just then further bring more negative comments as well, because they'll have their group of following, and typically the types of people who create react videos are generally like, that's what they do, like they create react videos to people. And so I don't know if this is typical, but from what other people in the field that I've seen this happen to, they end up getting a flood of trolls coming through and just saying the most hateful, hurtful things on all of your videos, commenting on other subscribers' comments and making them feel bad about following you. And that was the hardest thing for me, because I mean, like, yes, I did not enjoy being called the names that I was called, but I think the hardest thing is seeing how this type of situation can hurt the people who you're subscribed to.
The community,
and it's almost like you start to, exactly. You really start to care for the people that you see comment all the time, and you know something about them. And, they're like a little, like what you're saying, a community of people that, for me, I see every Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it's seeing, you almost get like a mama bear syndrome, and you want to go in and just like fight all this off, but that's only going to make it worse. And so knowing like, okay, just ride it out, like just let it be, because any comments that you do go in and that you do stir it up, it's just going to spur more comments and more hatred, and that's not going to help the situation.
Yeah. So did that all happen when those videos went viral, or is this just kind of continuously happening?
Yeah, it's in waves. I mean, the first time, it was like one bigger YouTuber had done it, and so then all these littler guys jumped on because they're like, oh, I'm gonna copy. I mean, just what we're talking about, how you never want to copy someone else, but that's what some people will do. So they copied, and then it was like this big wave. But yeah, I mean, it just depends on how out there you are with what it is that you believe in. Like, I have a very strong stance, and I have very strong science to back up what I'm talking about. And so it can get very emotional for a lot of people to want to respond. So I might get more responses than what some other people might get. So I don't get people off from doing YouTube. But even with all of that, which is not all the time, again, comes in waves, just like subscribers come in waves. Even with that, I would never give up YouTube. It's still so worth everything that it brings, just the opportunities it brings, the people you get to meet. Like, there's so much good that comes out of YouTube, but there's also going to be some downsides too.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So, you had your channel grow, videos went viral, and then now you're at what, 200,000 subscribers?
220.
220 after, like you said, it's a little over 2 years. So then what has changed for you in your career? It sounds like at the time you were doing your own thing. It's not like you were working a 9 to 5 and you're wanting to quit that. It's like this complemented what you're already doing. You were working with clients, a nutritionist and a dietitian and all that. And now the YouTube, I would imagine, would bring a lot more exposure to your work and your business. How did that come about for you?
I mean, it's made it so that now I only am able to see clients a couple days a week, where before I was seeing clients 5-6 days a week and seeing clients from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. every hour, where seeing a lot more people to now I just don't have the time, because there's so, with the online portion where I have this much larger community of people utilizing my programs and the Facebook group, the private Facebook group that goes along with that, and interacting with everyone, providing answers and being a sense of support, that has now become more of my full-time job. And I almost view like the consults as just more of a fun experience for me to connect with people one-on-one and be able to help someone personally as well, which I think is important too.
So then what type of changes did you have that, I mean, numbers wise, I would imagine with this exposure, you saw a boost to your business. What did that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was a huge shift in my business. It made it so I could actually hire someone, which was huge, because again, anyone who's doing YouTube knows how much of a I don't even know, what's the word? Solopreneur. Yeah. How much that can really.
Oh, wait, you went mute. I can't hear you. Oh, there you are.
Oh, sorry, can you hear me?
Now I can hear you, but it sounds like your headphones, I think maybe your headphones died.
Just died. Is this okay still, or?
Yeah, if that's the only option, then we'll just go with that.
Yeah, sorry, unfortunately, I don't have any other headphones.
No, it's fine. I can still hear you okay. I mean, the sound isn't as good, but we got a good 25 minutes or so of good sound. So we'll just continue on with the interview, and I'll edit all this part out. Let me think. Where were we at? Oh, you were talking about... Oh, I asked you, like, what did that look like in your business with this, like, increase in traffic?
Yeah. So, like I was saying, I have an online private Facebook group for all of my people who utilize my program, and so it's a safe space, essentially, for where we can all just communicate and be able to help each other with their journey. I mean, that went from 0 members, 5 members, 10 members to now I think it's 8,000 or more of people who are just in there who are utilizing the program and being able to support each other, which is really cool, because again, what type of program I offer is so different from a lot of these calorie restricted type of protocols that it can be a big mental shift for a lot of people. And so we have so many people with so many great experiences within that Facebook group of 8,000 plus members. Like, that makes it so that there's a sense of accountability and a sense of being able to spread my message more as well and help more people, especially along through that process where it can be such a big mental shift. And what I did find is it actually, being on YouTube, helped my blog as well. Like, that helped it grow, because I would post those videos on my blog as well, which I have done some reading on how it can actually help to increase the authority of your blog. So if you have a website, like having YouTube that you're constantly linking out to just increases the authority and make it so that you're more likely to be recommended. So that went from, I think, like 10,000 monthly page views to 150,000 monthly page views a month.
Wow, because of your YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming because it did correspond right around the same time. So it definitely helped lift up how many people I was able to reach and help with spreading my message too.
Yeah. And so you already had that course prior to having a YouTube channel, or is this a new course that you're promoting?
No, I already had that going. So it was something, especially 2018, early 2018, when a lot of people are starting to become interested in intermittent fasting, and a lot of my clients were, I saw how many people were just using it so wrong, and it was just completely destroying their health. And so I wanted to create something that actually helped people use something that's going to, naturally increase fat burning mechanisms and decrease bloating, but not ruin their health at the same time. So I had created that prior to even starting my YouTube channel. And then from there, it was actually a really great platform to help spread the message of that program and how it can help people.
Yeah. So how do you market that program through your YouTube channel?
I personally am probably not as aggressive as a lot of other people. I very softly market it. I have it always in the description, where I'll mention it here and there within the tips. If there's something that is relevant, then I'll be like, oh, you can check that out in the description below, so that people can have that extra layer of information to help them achieve their goals. But I personally don't believe in hardcore selling to people all the time, just because you want to build trust and you want to provide people information and show them how much value that you can provide them, even with just free videos first, so that they can see, oh, okay, I trust this person. I want to learn more and see what it is how else they can help me.
Yeah, one of the questions I get from a lot of people who, want to have a course or they want to sell something, and then they know that YouTube is a great mechanism to be able to build an audience for that. They're like, but how do you separate the idea of giving all your information away for free on your YouTube channel and then still trying to sell it?
Yeah, and it's a fair question, because the big thing you have to remember is that when you have a program, you're laying something out for everyone step by step. You're taking away any questions that they might have, and it's just a very simple, A to B plan on how they can incorporate everything from start to finish. So a big aspect of when you have a program or a course is that all of these steps and how to get there from A to B are taken out. Like, exactly what you need to be doing. And it's not like when you just watch 10 videos in a row, you aren't sure on, okay, wait, so how do I apply that part to this part? And when does this part come in? So you're providing a lot of really great information for people to, understand what it is that they have a question about. But then you're also showing them that there's so much more that they really need to learn about, and that it fits into this bigger picture.
Mm-hmm. So how many students have you been able to enroll in your program?
I think last count, it's like over 8,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What were you getting before YouTube?
I don't even know. Like, nothing. It wasn't a full-time job before, by any means.
Yeah. So at what point did this really become full-time and you could scale back on your one-on-one coaching?
It was probably around, I think, the first time, because I've steadily cut back on clients, because especially my schedule is so full already. I didn't want to just drop clients and be like, oh, sorry, can't help. That just didn't seem right to me. So I scaled back slowly, which there's a really big transition period of me working a lot of hours. So it was probably about, I would say like 5 months after that first video went viral. And I think it was when I was about like 60 or 70,000 subscribers, that it became more of my full-time focus. And I wasn't seeing clients as often. That was like the first time.
Yeah. So almost like a year and a year and a half
channel. Yeah.
After starting your channel. I mean, that's really great. And then I'm trying to think. I had a question and now I just lost it. Oh man. A very specific question, and now I can't. Now I can't remember what it was. Will it come back to me? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, well, do you know what? We'll just start with the bonus round at the end, which is these are the questions I ask every single person that has come onto the podcast. And then maybe sometime this question will come back to me and I'll be like, oh, now I remember what it is. But the first question I asked is, what is your highest viewed video? How many views? And then how much did you make from that video?
So my highest viewed video, I'm just bringing up my analytics, was my 10 intermittent fast mistakes, which currently is at about 1.7 million views, but it's still, all the time bringing in more views. I think like anywhere between 2 to 15,000 views every 48 hours, depending on just the ebbs of YouTube. And total since then, I mean, that video from the fruition, about 8,800.
Okay.
For just that video. So it's not like, ads aren't really my bread and butter.
Yeah.
It's a thing to make it so I can afford someone to help me, but it's not the main focus of my business.
Yeah. Okay. And then I remember the question I was going to ask you. And my question was, how many hours a week would you say that you work just in general? Yeah.
On YouTube?
Well, I'd say both. I'd say how many hours a week you work on your YouTube channel, and then how many hours a week are you working on all your other businesses? Because it's all kind of intertwined in a way. It's your work. So.
Yeah. I'm pretty good with balance now. I've really focused on that because I found that when I am more balanced, I'm able to produce better content and be there for my community better. So I probably just work a pretty typical work week of starting at 9, ending at like 6-ish each day. But that doesn't mean your brain ever shuts off on what you're doing. So on the weekend, I'm always talking about different types of video concepts that I could create to better serve my audience, and just like ideas for different updates for the program. So it's just always going, but that's what's cool about when you're excited about what you do, is that it's a joy to always be thinking of what you're doing.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Oh, so asked how many hours for YouTube.
Oh,
for YouTube specifically, that one, I would, for each video, I'd say I easily put in about 8 to 10 hours of work, because mine are very science backed. So it does require a lot of research first, because I want to make sure it's the best possible information someone can find. So yeah, each video, I come out with 2 videos a week, and I spend Mondays scripting them, where I don't really know how much time. Some can be really fast, some can be really short, but and then on Wednesdays I film, and then editing is a whole other day itself, but it's probably about 8 to 10 hours per video.
And so when you are scripting it out and you get ready to record, is it just you're scripting it to help you kind of map out what you're going to say, or do you use any kind of teleprompter to refer back to your notes? How do you make sure with all this scientific information that you do have all that information in there in the videos?
Yeah, I mostly just use it as a way to make sure I'm staying on track and providing the references that I know people would want to see, because a lot of my information is, there's studies to back up what I'm talking about, but my goal is to make it so that it's more of a explanation of how your body works. And so it's a very simple, easy to understand explanation throughout the video. So it's less of, let me list out these 20 studies and the explanations of how these studies worked, more just like having this substantial information to back up what I'm talking about, so that this oversimplified view of nutrition doesn't seem like it's not backed by science.
Yeah, got it. And then is there a lot of stopping and starting? Like you're like, okay, what is this? Or are you pretty good? Like once you spend all that time, you kind of just bang it out?
Yeah, for the most part, it's a pretty good flow. Like my videos range from about 6 to 12 minutes in length, and each video, the whole file is maybe 18 to 25 minutes long. So it's not a lot of breaks in between. That's relatively not a lot, I think, for most people at least. But yeah, once you get in the flow and you kind of learn how it is that you need to be talking, so that people can so that you're able to flow naturally and not lose people's attention. That's a big learning curve. But once you have that, it's a lot easier to just be able to have a rough script of what you're going to talk about, and then implement that type of talking strategy.
Yeah, definitely. Next question. What is your number one struggle with YouTube?
Probably the amount of time I put into it, which is something eventually I do want to have some additional help in that. Like hiring an editor, for example, would save me a lot of time. But outside of that, there's no way for me to give additional jobs to someone else, because I really, I want to make sure that information is exactly how I would present it. So I'm not going to have someone else do the research for me. I'm not going to have someone else do the scripting for me. So all of that has to be me. But the overall time could be really shortened if I found an editor. But yeah, that's probably the biggest issue, is just the time to put.
If you were to start over right now, what would you do differently?
This sounds really bad, but I actually feel like I am very happy with how things have gone out. For most people, I think, because, I have other family members who've been trying to start a YouTube channel, and I see what struggles they deal with. But I think for what most people need to hear is that it's a marathon, which is so cliche. And it's just something that you have to go into knowing you're not going to see any results for a year. You're probably not going to see any results for longer than that. I feel like I was really lucky to have 2 videos go viral at once. But if you just keep putting in the work and you just keep on trying to just make one little piece of your content better than it was in the last video, then that in itself, that's going to add up. And if you just keep going, I'm such a big believer that anyone can spread their message authentically on YouTube and create a business around it.
Me too. I truly, that's why I have this podcast. That's why I have a YouTube boot camp for women. And, I truly believe it, because it's people like you that essentially YouTube has changed your life. When you think about your life
Mm-hmm.
2.5 years from, or even 3 years ago today, I mean, how is it different?
I mean, 3 years ago today, I was working for someone else, and I had no say in the type of content that was going to be put out or the message that was being spread. And the biggest, I mean, benefit for what YouTube has given me is that I have my own voice and that I'm in control of that. No one else can tell me what it is that they want to share and what they want to spread. I get to share what I really think is going to impact people's lives. And yes, the business portion of it is amazing and it makes so you have so much flexibility. Of course, there's downsides with that where every decision is up to you. Mm-hmm. So you have to also bear with that struggle as well. But if you have something you're truly passionate about, like you with helping people to start a YouTube channel because you really believe people can, or with me with helping people not to restrict themselves and not to overexercise and you can actually achieve your wellness goals through that. If you're truly passionate about something, this will all be so easy because you just want to spread your message. And that means you're just going to constantly want to figure out ways in order how to do that. And it will happen. I've seen it happen so many times with so many of my other YouTuber friends where it just takes one video to take off and that's it. But you just never know what that video will be.
Yeah. And you just got to be consistent, still create content, because I always say that each video you put out is another chance to have a video go viral. It's just putting something else out there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I really, really am such a strong believer for anyone who's on YouTube that you have to be true to what it is that really drives you. And even though it's uncomfortable, even though you're going to get so much negative feedback, especially if what it is that you have to spread is very controversial, but it's so much more rewarding because you know that you get to share a message that is something that's really meaningful to you. And there's a lot of people out there who need to hear it.
Yep, definitely. What is the favorite video you have created for your channel?
There's been so many. Probably some of my favorite ones are the ones that are the scariest to put out, which are the ones that, it's easy to, I don't know. There's so many videos that are scary to click publish on because it's likely going to give you a lot of negative feedback. But that fear is kind of like a fun thing to play around with because you're onto something that more people will want to see. So I've had videos like 10 healthy foods that aren't actually healthy for you. Like that was one video that did pretty well for me. And it was a lot of foods that I was seeing a lot of my clients or AM peeps, which is my community, eating, and it wasn't supporting their wellness goals. But there's a lot of influencers who talk about how great they are. So I wanted to share the information that was contradictory to what a lot of people would want to hear or contradictory to the information that was being shared. So that type of video where I get to basically really be authentic to what my message is, but is also the scariest to put out, those are some of my favorite to make.
Yeah, definitely. They make the most impact.
They do, yeah.
Is there any video that you were really excited about that you uploaded that just didn't do well?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, that's just what happens all the time. You think oh, this is going to be the one that just breaks through and I would totally click on this is going to get 10 million views. Yeah. And then it gets 1,200 or something. That's been so many of my videos. But what I found with a lot of those that I thought were flops is that they were still good content. It just wasn't something that, maybe wasn't as click-worthy as another video. And and as soon as I started to get more views from the videos that were getting a lot of, traction and more virality to them, that then people would binge on that content and it lifted up all of my videos. Now all of my videos have a pretty decent amount of views, even if they were ones that seemed like they were flops at first.
Yeah, because it's all part of that ecosystem that when people find you, you have bingeable content.
Exactly.
And they're just kind of catching up, oh, what's Autumn all about?
Yeah. Exactly.
What is the biggest opportunity you got as a result of your YouTube channel?
Do you mean what YouTube brought for me or a big opportunity within YouTube?
Well, yeah, by you having your YouTube channel, have there been any big opportunities that have just come from that?
Yeah, I mean, what's crazy is as soon as you start to get a lot of views or a lot of people coming to your YouTube channel, first of all, you get a lot of businesses reaching out to you. I probably get like at least 10 or 15 different businesses reaching out to me on a daily basis to promote their products, which is not something that I really do, because I do really want to just focus on the types of things that I really support. And I do think that's really important for YouTubers, especially if you're new, to remember just because someone reaches out to you does not mean you have to work with them, especially if you don't believe in what their product is. But it's been really cool, the community I've been able to have for myself, even within YouTube. Not like, obviously the subscribers has been amazing and I love that portion, but it can be pretty isolating being a YouTuber. I don't even like consider myself that, but quote YouTuber, because you are doing all this on your own, and sometimes not having someone else that can relate to you and what you're going through can feel really isolating. So it's been cool to meet other YouTubers in the space, and I'm fortunate enough to live close to the YouTube space in Playa Vista, so I'm able to go and not currently.
I live near there too. Yeah, I know. yeah.
But been able to meet so many different people at the space and be able to share what their experience has been like, and like kind of laugh over the common struggles. And, you're not really alone in that aspect. So that's been something. I mean, I've been able to have so many new friendships and work with other people who have 1 million plus subscribers and hear their journey. And that's just been really cool to see other people's journeys as well.
Yeah, that's cool. What is your superpower that you think has led to your success on YouTube?
Definitely my outlook on nutrition and how it's so different from what so many other people are doing right now. And I think it's a breath of fresh air for a lot of people. And the fact that I've been so consistent on sharing that message, regardless of if people don't like it, other people in the field at least don't like it, and the negative feedback that goes along with it, and being able to explain it in a way that is understandable for anyone. Like, anyone could go to my YouTube videos and maybe they have to turn down my speed by 0.75 to understand my fast talking, but they'll be able to understand these complex systems of nutrition and make their own decisions on how they can best eat to fit their wellness goals.
Yeah.
Definitely nerding out on nutrition in a way that anyone can understand is my superpower.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy your channel. I found your channel, I think, searching intermittent fasting, because I do that, and I found your channel, and I'm like, oh wow, she's a great channel. I got to make sure I interview her for the next time I do interviews on my podcast. So I'm personally a fan of your content for sure. Thanks. So and then last question is, what is the number one piece of advice you would tell somebody who is just getting started on YouTube, or who, looking at you and thinks, God, I would love to start a YouTube channel?
Really, two things. First of all, don't compare yourself to others. That's the biggest downfall. If you are going to compare yourself to others, the most fun thing I like to do is go to a YouTuber you really like, click to their oldest videos, and look at what their videos were like, and see how few views that they had, and how probably awkward they were. Like my first video, so awkward. And that kind of gives you a good idea of what, no one starts off perfect. No one starts off being able to talk to the camera easily, or to edit, or, any of that. So if you are going to compare yourself, look at how people start. Don't look how they are now, because that's a very poor representation. And the other is, you just have to keep your head down and keep going. Like, my dad has a really great saying that he would always tell me, you just have to chop wood, carry water. Just keep going. Like, no matter what's happening, rain or shine, just chop wood, carry water, make a video, film, edit, repeat, and just keep going.
Love that, Autumn. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, sharing your journey. And for anybody listening and watching, and they want to check you out, where can they find you?
Yeah, on YouTube, you can find me at Autumn Bates. So just like the season, autumn, and then Bates, like Bates Motel. Great combination of names there. And then also my website is Autumn Elle Nutrition. So Autumn, ELLE Nutrition. And same thing on Instagram, Autumn Elle_nutrition.
Awesome. I'm going to have all those links in the description here as well. And if you're here on YouTube, let us know what you thought of this interview, your biggest takeaways. Was there anything that Autumn said that really struck a chord or gave you an aha moment? Let both Autumn and I know in the comments. And thank you so much, Autumn.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.